Okay, let's get started. Thank you everybody for joining our deep dive into the new Simple Survey webinar. I'm really excited to be here with you all today. My name is Anthony. I'm on the marketing team at Internet Creations, and I'm joined with our two featured speakers. Joseph Reali, who is our product manager at Internet Creations.
Hey everyone, super excited to be here today. I can't wait to share all the new information about Simple Survey with everyone.
And I also have Howard Yermish, who is the Director of Product at Internet Creations.
Hi.
Howard likes to be goofy sometimes.
Yeah,
he's excited today.
I'm excited. This is a big day.
So just a quick tip on how to ask questions. We love questions, so please ask them. In the control panel, the sidebar of GoToWebinar, you'll see the questions panel. Feel free to input your question, and I may respond directly to you in text, or we may have Howard and Joe answer the question. Just to test and try out the questions functionality, let us know where you're dialing in from. We are dialing in from Hamilton, New Jersey, which is our headquarters, and we also have an office in Dallas, Texas.
So are we starting to see people tell us where they're from?
Yeah, we have people dialing in from Atlanta, Georgia, Washington, Minnesota, Philadelphia, Utah. Yes, the session is being recorded, and we will also be sending this out to people. Let's see, where else? San Francisco, Vegas, baby, Ohio, Iowa, Mount Pleasant.
So we're getting a lot of places all over the U.S. here.
Nice.
All places I've never been before.
And the world, Northern England.
Nice.
Arizona, Plano, Texas. That's awesome. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. All right, let's have a quick look at the agenda for today. First, we'll be talking about feedback and the importance of feedback. Feedback is one of the 4 pillars here of our service experience suite. Then we'll have a live demo of the brand new survey experience. I'm really excited to see this. Then we'll look at the new survey builder functionality and enhancements. We'll talk about some frequently asked questions, and we'll also have a look at the brand new survey insights functionality, which is in open beta, and we'll talk more about that. And then to wrap things up, we'll have a look at the future roadmap.
That's great. So one of the things that sort of frames all of our conversations around all of our applications is improving the overall service experience. And we look at this service experience from 4 key areas. First area is responsiveness. It's how you treat your customer so they feel that they're being prioritized. But there's also the means of utilization, making sure that you understand where the needs are in your actual processes, whether you have enough people or too many people or a lack of knowledge, things like that. But we also want to make sure that you're personalizing those experiences to build a great relationship with your customers. But to that end, in order to improve in all of these areas, you need to hear from your customer. You need to get their voice to improve the overall experience, which is why we focus on feedback. So think about it this way. We're going to leverage our customer's voice. We're going to improve the experience to see where the problems are. Simple Survey is obviously the tool that aligns directly with this. But if that survey experience isn't tied into how you're responding, even how quickly you get those surveys out and how you respond to the feedback that you receive, to make sure that you're learning from people. These are all things that make Simple Survey important, which means we need to get good data. Now, one of the things that I have to tell you, it's a big pet peeve of mine. I get surveys all the time, and if it wasn't for sort of the morbid curiosity that I have, I would delete a lot of them, mostly because they say things like, can you give us 15 minutes for the survey? Or we'll give you $50 if you're one of the 5 people we draw this month. They'll bribe you to take the survey. So Joe, talk to me a little bit about all the reasons why surveys are broken and what we're doing to fix that.
And as you mentioned, Howard, surveys are broken because they're often way, way too long. You'll often get a survey that says, please complete the following 100 questions, or please spend the next 45 minutes completing the survey. Nobody has time for that. People want a quick, easy way to provide feedback to whatever service they just received. They're also often too complicated. Sometimes people try to get super specific data, and in doing so, they confuse the people who are responding to the surveys. And when you get confused and you're doing a survey for free, people just say, I'm not going to take the survey. I'm just going to move on with my day. Additionally, people often feel like the responses aren't going to get follow-up. So let's say you had a service experience where it wasn't that great and you want to provide feedback. So you fill out the form that allows you to provide feedback, and then the company doesn't ever follow up with you. Well, you're likely to either not fill out their survey the next time or just not use their service anymore. So to kind of improve upon this, and why Simple Survey is the right solution, is because, well, number one, it's one click required. So as soon as a customer provides the initial response, we capture that data in Salesforce. So that's whether or not they actually fill out the additional questions on the landing page. We also really prioritize keeping surveys simple. We don't try to do anything too fancy with it, but we do make it so that surveys can be taken from both desktop, on their mobile device, or even just on the go. And additionally, we make it very easy for our customers to take action immediately when a survey response comes back in. So Howard, I know one thing about us is when we get a survey back from one of our customers, you'll get notified right away, and you'll be able to follow up with the customer right then and there. So within just a matter of seconds, you can respond to the customer and say, hey, thanks for that great response, or I see your feedback, I see it didn't go so well, let's talk about it so we can make the situation better for the next time.
And that's a real important piece. And when we make this survey experience better for your customers so that they can quickly respond, but it's also, if you can make sure that you're letting them know that you've listened. No good survey program is complete without the completion of that feedback loop. Customer gives you some feedback, you respond to them and maybe strike up a conversation. That's something where we want to make sure that we are leveraging all the great things you can do with Salesforce automation, but also so that you can personalize those responses and really have a great program for that. So here's the meat here. We're going to set this up, and this is a little bit of a tricky thing. We want to demo the new survey experience. So we're going to switch over so that we can view my phone, and I'm going to share my webcam here so that let's see, we should be able to do this. Let's show this window. All right, so we're now going to view, here's on the webcam, here's my survey experience. It's pretty great here. So I got this survey earlier today that asks about, it's in my email here. So we're going to go to this product support, and it's telling me, hey, how likely are you to recommend internet creations? But here's the thing to notice right from the get-go. Traditionally, on a mobile experience, we had all these little tiny links that were hard to find. We now put NPS in this nice vertical mode, really easy to tap. In fact, I actually joked that I could have my cat take the survey. So I'm going to give myself, I'm really impressed, but not completely impressed. I'm going to give myself a 9. And so now that's going to take us over to the new experience for Simple Survey. And so here we've got this nice little background. Here's our little score change. So I can like change the score. I'm like, well, maybe I give myself a 7, maybe a 10. I'm going to stick with the 9 just for now. But I've got this question here that says, how much time did it take us to address your questions and concerns? I'm going to say shorter than expected. And it automatically forwards to the next question. That was with a standard pick list question. We're just going to make it so that it goes through. Second question here, what did we get right? You know what? I like our product knowledge. We hear that all the time. I think we were really tenacious about finding an answer, and I loved our relentless follow-up. So those are done. So I can kind of say, you know what? I'm done with this question. I'll just swipe that across. It's really nice. Favorite date in history? Well, obviously, we're going to use the natural controls that our mobile experience lets us do. September 10th, 2019. That is my favorite date because it is Simple Survey release day. Always good. So we'll go with that. We'll move over to the next question there. And now this is asking me, hey, in your own words, what are the things you like about the new survey experience? So I'm going to tap in there, and now I'm going to leverage just native functionality on my phone. I love that I can use Siri to enter my response. Period. There we go. And that's all done. I've got Siri in there entering the response. Go to the next question. And then one more. Do you have any other questions, comments, or concerns? Well, I'm going to use Siri again, and I'm going to say, when is the release of the new version coming out to the AppExchange? Question mark. Aha. Set. And then I can submit that survey experience. And what's nice is as soon as that's complete, I've got it set up and it's automatically redirecting to the homepage of Internet Creations, loading that here as it's loading, you know, when you're in a huddle room, internet's a little scarce here, you got a million things going. So this is loading, but you get the idea. There we go, empowering the world to deliver the perfect experience every time. So now we've got our nice little mobile responsive homepage there, all good. So that's this live demo. Now, before I close up this demo, Anthony, did any questions come in specifically about the new survey experience in terms of how things work?
Is information tracked even if somebody does not complete the full survey?
That's a really good question. So the answer is yes, if you have the partial responses feature on. So about a year ago, when we talked about new features for Simple Survey, we talked about a new partial responses feature. So Howard does have this on in the org that he's testing in. So as he's responding to each individual question, the response is getting recorded in Salesforce. So let's say Howard gets 3 questions answered, and the last 2 he just decides to forego. His initial 3 questions that he answered will be recorded in Salesforce.
And if I just ignore that and I just exit out here, let's just say done. And if I close that tab, oh, I can close that tab with my finger. There we go. That's going to be a partial response recorded in Salesforce. What other questions do we have?
Another question is, let's say we have a web product that customers log into. Can we embed a survey that pops up within that web page, whether it's on a specific page or an element within the page? In other words, can surveys be embedded on websites?
It's possible. What I would say to that is Simple Survey really isn't necessarily designed to handle that type of situation. It's very much meant as a transactional process where somebody completes something, like such as the closing of a case, and they receive a survey email directly.
Okay, great.
All right, so I'm going to wrap up this demo and pass control back over to Joe. So let's say bye.
Alrighty. Thanks, Howard, for that awesome demo there of the new survey experience. It's really cool to see all these new features come into play. So now we'll talk a little bit about what we've done in the survey builder to make this possible. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to another screen here. And let's pop into that. One more over. And so what I'll do is I'll select one of the existing surveys that we've created, and I'm going to proceed to the new updates we've made.
And these are the updates for the survey builder so that you can do the customization of this landing page with all the different background images and such like that.
Right. So we'll go ahead and skip, and this is actually the same survey that we just took, Howard. We'll go ahead and skip to the customize and branding and design page. And this is where you'll start to notice that some of what used to be offered in the survey builder has changed a little bit. The biggest part of the updates we've made to the new survey builder is we have a live preview option, and that's offered for both of our email templates and landing pages. And along with that live preview, you get the option to see how it looks on both a desktop and mobile view. And this comes into handy when you're looking at the email templates for the NPS scale, because you'll see on the desktop view, the ratings are across the screen. However, for the mobile view, they are vertical down the screen to make it a nice, easy response.
That's for the email template.
That's correct, yep.
So what if, so we have this nice image. What if we wanted to change this image to something else? Like, I know I've got an image already loaded in there.
Sure.
Obviously, you could do a little drag and drop upload there that we have that functionality. So you could just drag an image to there. But we have, I think there's some candy in there.
Right. So we'll go ahead and change the background image just to show everyone here how it looks. So now we have a nice, I think these are Skittles or M&Ms? I think they're Skittles.
I'm pretty sure that, yeah, they got the little S on it. Those are Skittles or non-branded S-type candies.
All right.
Let's do a little, like, what if we wanted to change that color of that background, of the accent color to kind of match those Skittles, kind of find a nice little yellow or orange in there?
Right, so blue kind of was the matching color for the last image, but now we'll try to find something a little bit different. So we'll go here to the brand color setting here. And I'm just going to go ahead and move this slider down the scale to kind of find a color I'd like.
Talk about taste the rainbow.
And you can see, exactly. And you can see as I move this slider, the brand color begins to change on the page. So that brand color is going to apply for your rating, any buttons on the page, and that's including your rating options. So for example, you'll see as I hover over the answer one option here,
you can click that.
Everything here is branded.
There, that's nice. That color is not my favorite. Let's go with something a little more. Let's get some red in there.
Red? All right, we'll do red.
Ooh, wait, there's this really nice pink.
All right.
Ah, there's the magenta. Perfect.
Okay.
I love the magenta. Awesome.
Save. All right.
Now there's a couple other features in here, Joe, where we talk about like the clear responses button. That's something if you've got partial responses and you want to let people clear out what they have because you want to comply with different privacy regulations and give people that option, you could certainly do that. But the interesting one to me is the survey completion. Talk a little bit about the redirects.
Right, and as Howard demoed earlier, when he took his survey and he pressed the submit button, instead of just being redirected to like a thank you page, he was actually redirected to the Internet Creations homepage. And that's because we've added a new feature in Simple Survey to allow customers to redirect survey takers after the completion of a survey. You'll have some flexibility here as to what specific website you want to redirect to. Many of our customers, I believe, will choose either their homepage or a blog page, something talking about some new functionality or product that they have. Along with defining the specific URL, you have the option to define the path in which they get there. So do you want there to be a short delay between the submit action and getting to that new page, or do you want to just bypass it completely and get right there?
I think what's really great about that is that thank you message is really, really nice, and then it takes you right into a web page. Right. But if someone said, you know what, I just want them as soon as they click submit to go to our web page, they don't want to have the thank you message, that option is there. It's really nice and customizable. Just drag the little slider back and forth in terms of the number of seconds.
Right.
We make it 3 to 10 seconds. If you want it longer, I think you shouldn't do that. If you want it shorter than 3 seconds, you probably should just have them go directly there.
Yeah, 3 seconds is the default. So when you start playing with this feature, you'll see that it's automatically set to 3 seconds for you. You can make it longer or shorter depending on your specific needs. I think when you demoed it, Howard, we actually had the bypass.
I had the bypass button turned on. I just wanted to see that.
Right, and that's why when Howard clicked the submit option, it just went right to the new page.
So talk to me a little bit about the email template that you have involved.
Sure, so now this section is where we obviously customize the landing page. Now let's move on to the email template section. So I'm just gonna proceed. I don't know how much Howard's gonna be using that survey, so I don't wanna mess it up too bad.
I know.
So now I'm on the email template section. And as I mentioned before, this is where having the desktop and mobile view really comes into play, because with NPS style surveys, again, on the desktop view, we're displaying the ratings across the screen. However, on a mobile view, we're displaying them down the screen. And the nice thing about this, aside from what we already showed on the landing page live preview, is that this has a live preview for your greeting and closing of your survey as well. So if I go down the screen here and I change, I'm going to remove organization name, and I'm just going to write
I'm
going to write Anthony, because Anthony's helping us today. He's doing us a big favor. So I've made that change there, and boom, right in the desktop view and the mobile view, we'll see Anthony's name appear. So as I make changes to the greeting and closing, they automatically appear right in the template here.
And I think what's really nice is not only can you just update this in real time, but we made it really easy for you to insert those merge fields, for you to change the accent color here as well. This doesn't override what you did for the landing page. So if you've decided, hey, because of the landing page, I've got a background, I might want one accent color, but in my email template, I use a different accent color. So we give you that flexibility, pretty easy to do. Again, for the logo, your drag and drop upload if you want to use, or use images that you've previously done. We're trying to make it so that it's just super duper simple to create, easy to work through, whatever object you want to work with, whether it's a standard object or a custom object. We want to make sure that you get the best possible experience there.
And one other thing to mention here, Howard, is that, and something we didn't show because we used an existing survey, is that our customers will be prompted to select either using a light or dark theme survey. So when Howard did his demo before, he was using the dark theme and he had a background image on his landing page. However, you can keep the landing page just completely white and use the light theme option. So all of our customers will be prompted to select one or the other option when they're building new surveys.
Got it.
So that's it for the survey builder updates. I'm gonna actually jump back to the presentation here. And now we've talked a little bit about what we've updated in the survey builder. Let's talk about how our customers who have a survey that's active and being sent to customers, how they can change it to use the new styles. So actually I'm gonna jump right back to the org that I was in earlier. And I'm gonna go to the first section here where we're going to look at our existing set of surveys.
Got it. So you could obviously create a new survey with this, but if I've got an existing survey program running, let's say that very, which one, the new thumbs up, thumbs down, whichever one, it's got this little note that says update available. So let's click that. Let's see what we've got here.
Right. And Howard, what this is going to do is it's going to give you a little preview of what these new landing page updates have been. And it's going to ask you, do you want to switch to the new styles? If you don't want to switch just yet, just click no, and it'll just take you back to how you would update that existing survey. However, if you do want to switch, all you have to do is click the yes, take me to the new templates option. And boom, I'm presented with, the first step is selecting whether you want to use a light or dark theme.
Let's do light theme for this one.
All right, fine. Sounds good to me. So we'll select the light theme, and then once we've selected an option, we'll be able to save and continue. And then this is where the new updates to the survey builder come into play. So the customize and branding page, because we've chosen the new styles, we're seeing these different options here. So we can change the logo, we can change the brand color.
If you picked light theme, you could switch this to dark theme now, couldn't you?
Right. If we want to change the theme because maybe we decide dark theme would be better, I would just click the change theme button. It's going to bring me right back to that page, and I'll select the dark theme this time and save and continue.
Nice. Because you do get extra options with the dark theme because of the background image.
Right. That is the main change you get, the background color or in the background image. Correct.
Got it. So you could select that image there.
Right.
Let's go find that. How about that Monument Valley picture? That's really pretty.
Did you take this, Howard?
I may have taken this picture. Yeah, I did. Oh, I did. So let's switch this from tile to fill.
Sure.
And sometimes if people ask, well, what size should I make it? With fill, we're just automatically keeping the proportions of the image. And if it expands wide, that's fine. We're gonna, make that fit nicely. If it expands tall, we're gonna make that fit nicely, but we're not gonna sort of stretch and squash the image.
Right.
So if you've got images of people, the people won't look bizarrely tall or bizarrely squat because we're changing the images around.
Right. And Howard, we talked about this earlier. Is there like a specific image size or file type that our customers should be using for this background image?
Yeah, this is a great question. Remember, it's a background image, so you don't have to upload a really, really super high quality image. You might make something big that might be like 2,000 pixels wide, but you might use a really aggressive JPEG compression. So you might be using a 30% quality in your JPEG compression so that your image might only be like, 120K, which is going to load really, really fast on your mobile device. With desktop, you might have a faster connection. But what's nice about it is because there's stuff in front of it, you won't notice any of the issues if there's some JPEG artifacts or lower quality and stuff like that, because it's behind stuff.
Cool. Thanks, Howard. So now we'll go back to the presentation here.
Got it.
So now let's talk about some of the key questions, and some of these are things that we're expecting to hear our customers ask us about. Really talk about how they're going to be affected by these changes. So just keep in mind that if you have an existing survey in play, we're not touching any of that. So when the new version becomes available, which is available as of today, as of about a half hour before this webinar, it was just posted.
Oh my God.
Your existing surveys will not be touched upon upgrading to the new version of Simple Survey. However, when you do upgrade and you go to the survey builder, you're going to see the option that says updates available, as we showed before, and that will allow you to migrate your existing survey templates to utilize the new experience. Anything you create moving forward, so if you want to create a brand new survey, once you've upgraded, you'll be prompted by default on every new survey to select whether you're going to use the light or dark theme. So those new styles will apply for any newly built surveys moving forward once you've upgraded. But the nice thing is that once you upgrade, it doesn't affect your existing survey data. You've already captured that data. It already lives in a survey record. So the styling updates don't affect necessarily how data is being captured or affect existing data that already is in your Salesforce org.
And that's going to be super important for another reason that we're going to demonstrate shortly.
Right.
All right, so yeah. I want to make a note here. We don't recommend that you just willy-nilly start updating your surveys. We think you should be testing things. To that end, if you do something and you're like, uh-oh, I broke something, you're going to need to reach out to support to undo something that you may have converted it to the new themes. So we can help you with that, but it isn't something that's an easy, fast thing. So if you want to play with it, what we recommend is that you build a new survey in the survey builder. Preferably do this in a sandbox, make sure everything's working, but if you do it in production, make a new survey, use the same questions that you used before, play with it, test it, do all those things. That's also going to let you take that test data and get rid of it and let your existing survey keep running. And then when you do the migration, you'll be like, great, everything worked the way I wanted it. People like the new version. I can apply those styles and go forward.
Right.
Also to note, we are not doing a push update right at this time. So we'll be doing a push update late in the year, December, January timeframe for that. Once we've gotten all the different things with this larger release done and we feel real comfortable about all of those individual pieces that are working as perfectly as possible. This is also important, and we put this here, moving forward, as we do some new significant stuff, it's going to work with the new survey experience. You may find that it does not work with our classic templates. And we'll talk about a specific couple of things that we know we're not going to work with the classic landing pages, why we need to move to this new survey experience, and moving forward, how we do that. So what we recommend is install the new version into your sandbox and test it, get comfortable with it, feel like it's working the way you intend, and then do your production upgrade.
Perfect.
All right. So before we dive into this, are there any particular questions that we want to address at this point? Anthony, what's coming?
All right, let's see. There are a ton of questions, and I'm trying to respond to all of them. Are the templates available in Salesforce Classic?
So you don't have to have transitioned to Lightning to use the new survey experience. So you can keep working in Salesforce Classic, but use our new templates. That all works fine. So whether you're in Classic or Lightning, this update does not force you in either direction or require Salesforce Classic or Lightning.
Right, and it doesn't, we're not actually saving the templates as a Lightning email template. They're still saved under the Classic email templates folder.
Correct.
If a survey is created and you need to edit it, is it better to create a new survey or edit the existing one? And how will the information be saved from previous submissions?
That's a great question. Yeah, so it depends on the edits you're making that will determine if you need to build a completely new, like a completely new template or not. So if you're just adjusting some of the landing page questions or changing a new,
like changing the color,
changing your color,
or
changing your redirect URL, then that just, all you have to do is go into the survey builder, select your existing survey, and commit the changes. If you're changing things like the text that displays in your email template, like the greeting and closing, you're going to want to go ahead and create a new template for that because some of that information is hard-coded into the template. It's not just like something referenced.
And that's the email template, but not necessarily the whole survey.
Right,
correct.
Exactly.
I would also say that if you want to change how anything's mapped to the different objects, you probably want to create a new survey for that. You probably don't want to just edit all your mapping because your existing data might go somewhere you don't intend it to go.
That's right, Howard. Yeah, so if you're, for example, let's say you've added a new field on the case record that you always want to be mapped to your survey record, but you weren't accounting for that in previous surveys, that might warrant creating a new survey because you might get a little confused between your existing data and the new data.
Yeah, but I think one of the things to understand is the questions are shared. So if you still want to ask the same 5 questions, but you want to launch a whole new survey program on a different object but retain those questions, you don't have to create new versions of those questions.
Right.
You can keep using the same questions over and over and over again, regardless of which survey you're sending.
Right.
Can we change the object that the data is held on from the simple survey specific survey object to another existing object?
I mean, I guess you could. You could technically like export the data via something like data loader and then re-upload it into like new fields on another object. There's not like an out of the box way to do that. You kind of need to manipulate it through data loader, but.
I would wonder if you wanted to move that data into another object, I would want to know why you didn't feel like the survey object that we're providing wasn't giving you what you needed. It may be something where if what you want to do is say, oh, well, what we want to do is we want to take the latest score from an account and we want to map that to a field inside of the account object. What I would probably do for something like that is, something like a roll-up summary or even a simple workflow rule that just says whatever the latest thing is, fire that onto this other field.
Right.
If what you wanted to do was make your own survey object, or if you had a legacy survey program and you're like, I need to have all this data together, That's something where I'd probably take the approach of choose where your surveys are going to live and let that be the place where your survey data is. We're about to show something that I think people will want to keep stuff in Simple Survey in order to do the analysis of their data.
Right. And kind of as you alluded to, Howard, if you're just looking to make survey data available in other objects, you can do that with things like roll-up summary fields, process builder, different forms of automation with Salesforce. That all can make that possible.
And just one more question.
Sure.
For now. Is there a report that shows surveys sent versus surveys received versus surveys completed?
So there is a package report for surveying off the case object that shows you response rate. So that will provide you with some indication on how many surveys you have sent out versus how many survey records have been responded to. That package report doesn't necessarily tell you how many people have fully completed it versus how many people have just had a partial response to it. You can build those reports, they're just not in the package directly today.
Awesome.
Got it. All right, so let's flip over, let's do some forward-looking statements. It wouldn't be a Salesforce webinar if there wasn't some kind of forward-looking statement slide. And since I only have 7 more seconds left on this slide, please make sure that if we're going to show you some stuff that's not out yet, do not purchase Simple Survey or any other of our products unless you, without the understanding that we're showing you some pre-release information. So let's dive into that. So Joe, talk to us about Survey Insights.
Right, so Survey Insights is designed to be a nice, easy way to dig into your survey data once customers have responded. The thing that I like about it the most, and we're kind of just showing a little preview of it on the right side of the screen here, is that you can point and click your way to getting survey data analytics. You don't have to know how to do fancy Salesforce reporting. In fact, if you're somebody who's not, like, let's say you're a new admin or you just don't do reporting that often, standard Salesforce reporting can sometimes be a little scary. You have summary reports, you have join reports. Kind of learning all this functionality can be a very confusing topic.
So what we're doing with Survey Insights is this is a purpose-built survey analytics engine. Right. And what it allows you to do is your scores and your pick list questions are going to be nice charts, and it's going to give you some key data on it in terms of the number of answered or skipped, things like that. Your text responses, what we're doing is we're bringing that information together and displaying it as a word cloud so that we can get a relative frequency of those words in your responses. And here's the thing that I really love. This is a huge advantage to being native on the Salesforce platform. This is going to work with your existing survey data. So while I was mentioning before, like, hey, the new version, you're going to want the new landing page. As far as your existing data is concerned, the data in our survey records is the data, and Survey Insights will analyze it, whether you did old landing pages, new landing pages. You don't have to convert a landing page to use Survey Insights. It will work on your existing data today with no conversion or update.
And this word cloud is huge, Howard, because we really never have had an easy way to compare those open-ended text responses across multiple surveys before. And now this is going to make it really, really easy to see what customers are saying. One thing I really like about this is you can formulate a word cloud based upon how customers respond to the initial question. So for example, I want to know my word cloud when customers give me a 0. And I do want to know it when they give me a 10, but I want to know, like, for each specific rating, like, what are the responses I'm getting back?
All right, well, let's dive in. Let's show this thing.
Sure.
Because I know I'm kind of anxious to see it. I've seen it. Okay, moving on.
All right, so we'll jump into the org here where we have the Insights Builder. And I'm just going to go ahead and select an existing survey insight, which we have named Test Insight, because what else will we name it?
And just so you know, this is not in the package today on the AppExchange. This is something where this is coming at the end of at the end of September.
Right.
In open beta, it'll be available to all Simple Survey customers.
Right. So as you saw in the screenshot earlier, the first thing we're looking at, and this is an NPS survey, we're looking at our Net Promoter Score. We're trying to see what customers have responded to us with for the first question of our survey that says, how likely are you to recommend us to an organization or friend based upon your experience? So this is just some test data, but we're not doing too hot with NPS right here.
Well,
We're
it's a nice even distribution.
It is, but we're supposed to be closer to 100. We're at -42. It's not
Yeah.
not looking too hot.
And I think what's nice is we're showing you both NPS average and NPS score. So
Right.
for the people who are just like, I just want to know what my average is, and they don't actually they're not running a pure NPS program, we're giving them some data. But by giving that score, we're absolutely showing you like, hey, if you're keying off of, hey, our NPS average should be, or NPS score should be between 80 and 100, you can use that same kind of thought leadership in terms of what to do to improve it.
Right.
But what's nice is if you scroll down, we'll see our little checkbox question. We've got a whole bunch of different kinds of things that may or may not show some data things. We're wrapping up some stuff in terms of like, what do we show when it's an email? Because it's not really a chart. But you can see pick list questions have different answers. Some multi-select pick list questions. Here's our word cloud where we've got this, like there's 765 answers, and here's our word frequency that's showing up with that. So let's kind of get to the good stuff here, Joe. Let's start by going back up to the top and let's drill in and show me just like 9s and 10s.
All right, so we'll look at those who are the promoters, if you're going by the true net promoter score system. So we'll do that. We'll click on the 9 and 10, and boom, it drills into the 9 and 10 responses, but it also looks at how those people who've answered 9s and 10s have answered the additional questions. So we can see here, I think before we had about 1,000 responses altogether,
Right.
but out of the 9s and 10s, we had 193 people answer this following question. They gave 111 gave the answer of no, and 82 gave the answer of yes.
And I think what's interesting is now when we scroll down and look at our word cloud, we're going to see
it's filtered down.
Yeah, we're going to see that it's filtered down. Now, and again, here's the thing that I don't want to say this is awesome, but scroll up just a little bit to the previous question, this little multi-select pick list question. Let's just pick a couple answers here to further drill in.
All right, we'll select that and that. How's that look?
Cool. So now we've drilled in and we've got 23 answers for this word cloud. We've got specific words in terms of word frequency. We have this other text area question below it, different kinds of information. What's really great here is think of the scenario where you're like, all right, well, how are the people that are giving us a good score but also answering this question, what are they saying? That's how you start to learn what's going right and what's going wrong in your support process.
Right, and when I think of our 4 pillars, I think of responsiveness. So maybe if we dig into to those folks who gave us a 0 and a 1, maybe what we're going to see in these text area questions, the most commonly used words may be slow to respond or taking too long. Like you're going to see some of those words come up in the word frequency here.
Got it. So what's nice about that is one of the functionalities that we're going to have is after you've built these insights, you're going to be able to share them with people in your org. We're going to make it so that Survey Insights is going to be something that if you have a license for Simple Survey, you're going to be able to have, it's actually, I believe, we're going to do a separate permission set,
right,
so that you can give specific people the ability to look through your survey data. Presumably, we're going to do it in the same way that you would have access to that data. Your Survey Insights are going to relate to that.
And for those who are familiar with Salesforce reporting, what we're doing here on the right side of the screen is we're basically just building a filtered view. So as I point and click on different attributes here, it's going to add another item to my list here. So now I've just selected those who have given me the pick list 3 option for my pick list question. If I don't want that, all I have to do is click the X here, and I'm back to the way I had it a few seconds ago.
Yep. Again, this is the kind of thing where you're filtering deep into your survey data. You might get yourself back down. We show up there in the top right that we're at 37 responses based on our existing filters. Mm-hmm. So if you knew, well, hey, we started with 1,000 responses, and what we really wanted was, and actually there's a really quick clear filters button to get you back to all your existing data. And this is going to show us, I think this was 1,000 responses that we put in our data set here. Yeah, so you're clicking, moving your way through, getting to different answers. You don't have to click on them in any particular order. So like if you go down, show me for my checkbox question, show me all the people that click yes. And right away, it's going to do that same kind of filtering, even on your top question there. Right. So if you look at your NPS scores, what if you click the people who click yes and see if there's some kind of distribution where it's heavy to the one side or another? Right. You're not just limited to say start with one and move and drill in top to bottom. It's really whatever direction you want to go.
Mm-hmm. And this also supports our method of having actionable data. So if you know what the trends are, you know how to act on it. And maybe the action isn't just responding to the customer and apologizing for the experience or thanking them for the response, but it's also a change internally. Maybe, there needs to be a discussion with the support team saying, hey, like, this is the feedback we're getting from customers. We're going to change this process to make it a little better.
And I would venture to say that if you wanted to get this kind of data before, you would have been buying a very expensive analytics tool, maybe spending a lot of money with Salesforce itself for Einstein Analytics. Maybe you were a Tableau customer. This is purpose-built for Simple Survey. So if you're trying to learn about your survey data that you've got, it's going to let you find that answer, explore, click around. You don't have to know anything about Salesforce reporting, and you're there. All right, so let's jump back, and we may have, let's see here, let's go to the next, we did our little demo. So again, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, this Insights tool we can do this because we're 100% native to Salesforce.
Right.
So in addition to our real-time actionable data and basically having everything built into Salesforce, there's some issues in terms of compliance that we think are super duper important. So in a world where there's as many data breaches as we keep hearing, knowing that all of your data only lives in Salesforce and you don't have to worry about us sending your surveys, we're not running a server somewhere that says, hey, your surveys are on this platform, everything's in Salesforce. You've got one company that's handling that compliance for data in Salesforce.
Right, Howard, and I think that kind of speaks to the fact that Simple Survey is purpose-built for Salesforce. It's not just a survey tool that happens to work with Salesforce. So, and yeah, keeping the data compliant, that's a big part of being 100% native.
All right, so moving right along, let's see, I think, it's roadmap time. Oh, God. So one of the things that we are doing for all of our applications looking forward is we're going to be, we've never done this, we're going to be doing a published roadmap for all of our applications. The first one that we're going to be publishing later this month is for Simple Survey. But I want to give you a little sneak peek in terms of the things that are on that roadmap as we publish it. First thing up there is a feature called Skip Logic. This is in our next big development cycle. We needed to get this new landing page experience done in order to deliver skip logic. So what does that mean? Well, from one standpoint, we can skip questions based on the initial survey response. That's going to be really easy. But you're going to be able to skip questions based on responses to those follow-up questions. And we're looking at that skip logic as, well, we have to report on it too. So as we're building Insights and it's open beta, we're going to make sure that Insights is also making it easy for you to know, well, if you answered this question one way and that skipped question number 2, we're going to let you know, hey, that question would have been skipped, which is why you're not seeing any answers, or those answers, as you switch back and forth, it's like, oh, well, that data isn't relevant because of the skip that's there.
Right.
The second thing that we're doing next, and we're going to see how we can get with this, is the duplicate prevention improvements. And this, we have to take into account a whole lot of different things, because there's duplicates that happen because, hey, the survey went out to me today and I got it, and then tomorrow I want to take it again. Well, that's a duplicate that's something that exists, the Simple Survey existing handles really, really nicely.
Right.
But what if someone double clicks on the rating, or they click on it and their browser's slow and it doesn't load as fast as they thought, so they click on it again and they accidentally create 2 records? Well, Simple Survey might capture both of those clicks, and we need a good way to determine that, that one of them isn't really relevant. But more sinister are things like clickjack prevention and email scanners. In the case of an email scanner, what those scanners like Barracuda do is they look at the email as it comes in, and they look at every single link in the email, and they click on it to make sure there's no malware attached. Well, the end result in Salesforce is it's going to click on every single link in close succession for the scores. So if you have an NPS score, there's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 11 different records that Barracuda is going to create, where it's not going to answer any of the questions after that. It's just going to quickly create all of those records to make sure there's no malware. And then the end user gets the email, and then they click their response. So you might see something where there's 12 responses for the same case. Realistically, there's 1 response. It was just 11 from Barracuda. Also, Office 365 now has a safe links protection, so that when you click the link, what it actually does is it goes and clicks it at that moment, checks it to make sure there's no malware, and then you get the response. So you get a very quick succession as if you double clicked it, except one's coming from an IP address that's related to Microsoft, and the other is coming from an IP address related to your end user. So we need to improve how we get that stuff out there. We don't want to be deleting data, but what we do want to do is make it easy for you to say, oh, that's stuff that isn't, we don't need that. Because for, let's say you get a double click scenario. One record is the score, the second record is the same score, but with answers to some questions. So we're going to look at those two things and say, oh, okay, we think that this is duplicate data. We're going to flag it so that it's easy for you to review and assess and say, yep, that's a thing. Moving forward more into the future is really involving how do we take this new landing page platform and expand on it in some really powerful ways. One of them is through additional question types. That means we want to support some more methodologies, and we also want to support the ability to take those methodologies like your NPS and your CSAT and your thumbs up, thumbs down, and embed them in the surveys themselves. We get the request, hey, we open with a 5-star rating. We want to have a subsequent question with that same nicely formatted 5-star rating. Well, we'd like to do that. We think that's a really good idea for you. We've got to figure out what's the right order, what methodologies we want to report on, how can we do stuff that still is a nice, simple, tappable experience. The last thing here in terms of merge fields for survey questions, this is all about how do you improve the personalization. Think about your surveys. They are for a person, which means the questions themselves should be for that person, not just an abstract, how did we do? And not just an abstract, how did we do on your case number? But really diving in and saying things like, well, what if we wanted to, for lack of a better term, personalize those questions based on whether it's previous answers, data that you already have stored in Salesforce, or things related to the case, maybe a product name, a particular status something is in. Imagine you're doing like project feedback.
The thing I really like about this, Howard, is let's say you're a company who has a lot of contacts and a lot of data on file, but a lot of that data may not be up to date. Maybe as part of your surveying process where you're asking somebody about their experience, you also include a question, hey, this is the phone number we have on file, this is the email address we have on file, this is the your address we have on file. Is all of this correct? And giving that survey respondent a chance to update that information if it's not.
Got it. So we have a number of people still on the line here, and what we want to do is we want to capture some feedback from you inside of this GoToWebinar. So what we're going to do is we're going to launch this poll. Here's the questions. So what we want to know is, of these 4 big areas that we're working on, which of the things are you most excited about? And you can check different ones. You don't have to just do one. Are you excited about skip logic? Are you excited about the duplicate prevention improvements? Maybe the additional question types, and maybe those merge fields for personalization. What are the things that you want to see? So we're going to launch this poll right now, and let's get that rolling here.
Is there a select all option, Howard? Because I'm excited about all of these.
There's a lot of work to do all of these. Let's see. Are you launching the poll, Anthony?
Oh, I'm doing that now. Sorry, I was still
answering other questions.
There's a lot of questions.
There are a lot of questions. How about we launch this poll and then we'll start answering some questions while the poll is going on.
Poll is
open.
launched.
Great. So while the poll is open, what questions do we have outstanding that maybe we can take a stab at?
All right, let's see.
I guess I'll answer the poll because, let's see. I like this one, I guess.
You can't answer the poll.
Come on.
So with survey insights, will the word cloud include short phrases such as taking too long?
In this initial open beta, it will not. That is definitely something that we are looking into. It's a little bit trickier at this point. Our goal is to start getting ourselves down this path. That's why we're doing open beta, but the phrase recognition, where if you consistently see the phrase super fast, you want to see super fast as one word if there's that frequency there, as opposed to seeing super really big and fast really big. If that little unit is there, it is definitely something that we are looking into figure out what's there. I would encourage you, we're gonna, as a follow-up to this, there's gonna be a link to some of the ideas that we're looking for feedback on. You will see the word cloud as an idea in our community, and if you want that word cloud to be there, great. In terms of the word, the phrases, groups of words. There's also going to be an idea for you to comment on specifically for survey insights. That's already also in our community. Great question, though. One other thing to note about the word cloud, in the open beta, the words are not clickable or drillable yet. That's also something that we're looking at, ways that we can drill into the words as well. It's not available right from this first release in this open beta, but it is something that we're thinking about. So if you want that, tell us, because that's, we may find that people are like, I want to drill into a particular word and learn what those answers are in the other direction.
In the survey email on mobile, is it possible to have the rating scale appear horizontally like it does on the landing page?
So if you are doing the NPS score or the CSAT score, the 1 to 5 stars, those are going to appear vertically in mobile, unless you decide to, I'll call it, make your own custom email template. You could certainly do that. It's possible.
It's possible. You'd have to mess around with the HTML a lot.
And to that end, I would actually recommend against doing that.
Right.
And part of the reasons is I think about taking a survey and being able to just use your thumb. I joked with someone earlier that I did this in a huddle room the other week. I was taking the survey with my nose just to prove that you could do it. I don't have the smallest nose, which means if you just sort of nose your way through there, it's really, really great. I would encourage you to use the larger tap areas for those survey scores. Your customers will thank you for it, because that's realistically what they want to do. The little tiny numbers that will appear in mobile, you'll be a little disappointed with that. That said, if you're using it from an iPad, that iPad is, whether you're in portrait or portrait mode or landscape mode, it will adjust based on what the width is of that survey. So it's looking at the overall width to determine how it's going to display that. So it's, you probably don't want to break the magic that we're doing. We didn't actually mention this, but if you have images turned off, those, the new touch sections that we have don't require images. Thumbs up, thumbs down requires images, but everything else is just using text. So that when you click on those large tap areas that say, like, here's your scores, you don't have to have images loaded to make it work. So if the concern is, oh, these are giant images, we're not using images to do that. It's part of the magic.
And bonus points for your customers who take their surveys with their nose versus their thumb.
Okay, I'm going to close up the poll. Looks like most people have responded.
All right, let's see the results, Anthony.
Let's publish some results. Cool. All right, so this actually, if you think about the order in which we did our roadmap planning here in terms of what's next and what's after that, it absolutely aligns with that. We've got a pretty even distribution between skip logic and improvements to duplicate prevention, as 2/3 of you want those things. In terms of additional question types, 40% of you really want that as well. And merge fields for survey questions, the personalization element, almost half of you are looking for that feature as well. So that's really great to hear. We're going to keep collecting feedback from that in our community, but there is going to be more information on our public roadmap to follow. So let's move back into our slides here.
So just some important dates to talk about here. So Simple Survey version 3.0 is available on the AppExchange today. And aside from the open beta for Insights, this includes all the other changes we discussed. In terms of the Insights open beta program, we're going to be releasing that towards the end of September.
All right, hang on a second. We need to make you the presenter. It's still showing a little default thing here.
Okay.
Oh, wait, no, hang on, wrong presenter.
Great.
Howard, please click the appropriate screen. Thank you.
Yep, so just to restate that again, Simple Survey 3.0 is available on the AppExchange today. It was just put live before this webinar, so you'll see all the updates there. Our release notes at releasenotes.internetcreations.com, those will also summarize all of the updates we've made. In terms of the open beta for Survey Insights, we're going to be releasing that towards the end of September, so just keep an eye out for some for notification regarding that.
All right, so we're going to still take some questions, but let's we've been answering things along the way. If you've got more questions, keep putting them into that questions panel. We're going to wrap up so that if you need to go and you feel like you don't want to miss anything, but before we wrap up, just want to mention Simple Survey is part of our service experience suite that obviously touches on all things related to the service experience. We have a whole lot of different applications, but I do want to highlight Email to Case Premium. This is one of our long-standing, most popular apps that we have, and we have a ton of customers in it, and we're really excited. We are announcing our Email to Case Premium pilot program for the Lightning Web component for the new comment page. So if you are an existing Email to Case Premium customer, we would love to have you as part of this pilot program. We would like you to either already be transitioned to Lightning in production, or if you've done the transition in your sandbox, you're in Lightning in your sandbox and you haven't rolled it out to your end users, that is also okay. We only want you testing in your sandbox. This is pilot functionality. It may or may not be perfect at this point. And the way we're going to resolve issues are going to be new builds of the application. We're going to have scheduled go-to-meeting sessions, and we're going to go through what things are changing, what functionality that you may or may not have. We're going to be doing this before previous pilot programs with Email to Case Premium. If you've done this before, you'll know kind of what we do. But what I want you to do is, if you are someone who applies here and says, yes, I would love to test this, please send an email to our friend Joe, who's right here.
Hello.
His email is joseph.reale or joseph.reale@internetcreations.com. And I believe that got posted in our little chat there.
And if you forget, you can always reach out to support and they'll redirect your requests over to me and we'll get going on that.
Got it. So also with that, sort of following on to this pilot program, next week, oh my God, like 2 webinars within the span of a week. I am one of the people on the webinar for the second part of our Transforming Your Service Experience, which is about building customer relationships through personalization. We're really going to lean into how do you personalize the service experience, but in a productive way, in a scale way, dealing with thousands of customers, but still giving personal attention. We're going to talk a whole lot about that. You should see a link to register for that webinar in the chat right now. So we're going to hang out and we're going to answer some questions, but thank you so much for joining us today for this deep dive into the new Simple Survey. And we look forward to seeing what you do with our new survey platform.
And we're going to hang around for questions in case we get any more. Anthony, anything new and exciting come in?
Is it possible to have the responses selections appear horizontally or vertically on the landing page?
Not in the new landing page format. The responses are vertical. It's just a matter of making an experience that's going to work well and readable. So anything more than a couple of answers, not answers, like a couple of letters.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond 3 letters, you're going to wish that it was vertically. The only thing that I will hedge on is I would bet that when we do thumbs up, thumbs down, and the 5-star rating, that those are going to be horizontal.
Right.
Just the nature of how they look, and we'll be able to fit those things in.
Right.
Let's see if there's other questions.
I think we've addressed most, if not all of them. There are a couple people who I told we will follow up with them after the webinar.
Okay. Yeah, and if anyone has any questions following this webinar, you guys can always reach out to support. You can reach out to simplesurvey@internetcreations.com, and either myself or another member of our support team will review your request and get back to you with an answer.
Got it. And something to know, if you, I actually just saw this in one of the questions, if you are not receiving notifications about these updates, you have probably unsubscribed from the AppExchange updates in your community profile. So log into our customer community, you'll go to your profile, you'll see a number of options in your settings in terms of marketing preferences. There is one specifically for AppExchange app updates. Please make sure you're subscribed to that, because if you don't like the other email that we send, that makes us very sad. It especially makes Anthony very sad. But if you've unsubscribed from AppExchange updates, you've told us that you don't want us to send you those. So go back into your community profile, subscribe back to AppExchange app updates, because that's where we do the notifications for updates for your applications.
And that'll make Anthony very happy.
It will make Anthony very happy.
Indeed it will.
I look at it this way. We don't want to overwhelm you with email, but that means we have to give you control because there are laws that tell us that we have to give you control. And we also want to make sure that you're subscribed to those AppExchange app updates.
Right. And the nice thing about our community, Howard, is that you can choose which types of emails you want to subscribe to and which ones you don't want.
Correct.
So it's not all or nothing.
Correct.
Any fun new questions, Anthony?
We said this at the beginning, but about the recording. So we will be sending a recording as a follow-up to this webinar. Absolutely, it will be posted and available for people to even get through our website, even if they didn't attend here. But for all of you that were on the webinar, you are going to get an email follow-up with that recording as soon as we can get that recording off to the races here.
Yep, probably in a few minutes after the webinar. It takes some time to download, but yep. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and close out this webinar for now. If anyone has any questions, again, you can reach out to us at simplesurvey@internetcreations.com, and we will follow up with those few folks that Anthony has the questions for. So thank you, everyone, for joining, and have a good day.
Take care, everyone.